Monkeys Maui has a few big names behind them, namely Mac Mittens and Hunter as well. Were ones that like stick out the most. They're really high quality players, but Monkeys Chopped After Hours, no slouches themselves. I mean, Slappy in the AEDC role for them, old reliable. Their coach Coop calls them that. All the while, Young Cali is moving in this week alongside with Fairmancy in the mid lane. Young Cali in top lane should specify that. And Coop has also gone on, or actually, I don't know if it says here on the record, but we'll say, you know what? I'll say it. He called him the best top laner in the league. So when you drop statements like that, it's like, okay, right? Like he put some respect onto Hunter's name. It's like Hunter's really good, but Young Cali is like different gravy. So I'm looking for that top lane matchup here tonight as well.
Yeah, we'll see if they're able to live up to those expectations. Now, I am going to be extremely disappointed if we do not see a Wukong first pick. There it is. Between two teams, Monkeys in the name, you got to expect some heavy priority for that Wukong. If for nothing else, to bring one
surprisingly though, there's not a lot of Wukong players in this game. I unfortunately,
you need to start from ground zero. Wukong mains.
It's possible.
Top,
they
jungle,
do.
Mid, and
they
have.
Have,
that's what I want to see.
I will say, Monkeys Maui has played Wukong before this season. Both teams have played Wukong.
Perfect. Okay, that's all I need to hear.
Season. They're just not like Wukong mains. And Shinobi, interestingly, is a support player who's moved into the jungle for them. It is a very big Shin enjoyer, so we see that taken away on the side of Monkeys Maui. Not going to let Shinobi get their iconic pit because we've gone through it. Sion, Thresh, Shin, Xin Xiao, Viego, and Zahin all taken off the table. Meanwhile, Ashe, Smolder, and Mbessa the lock-ins. Well, the Ashe for Maui and Monkeys Chop selecting Mbessa and Smolder.
Yeah, classic ADC handshake there. So what these picks suggest is that Maui is interested in strong siding their bot lane a little bit, but they also Ashe is a very safe pick, right? Because you can leave her on her own a bit early, but also with that enchanted crystal arrow, you always have the ability to play through any other lane. It's a strong engage tool. On the other side of the rift, you have Smolder, who of course does need to be paired with a top side or strong side top laner rather, which Mbessa can certainly fulfill the role of. I expect that's why we're seeing a relatively early top lane pick there. So, of course, Smolder will be that late game win condition, as always, taking time bomb. We see the reply from Maui coming in with the mother, or the daughter to the mother, with Mel for the mid lane. One can only assume, and Lilia for the jungle.
Yeah, Monkeys Maui are going for quite a bit of comfort, especially with the Lilia to Frosty. It's one that he's popped off last week in said series against TFF, so definitely looking forward to that. The response for Chopped is to put Rise in the mid lane with a champion that has definitely been a staple in the meta so far this season, Senkai.
For sure. I also like to see Rise here in this draft, specifically because when your first two picks are Smolder and Mbessa, and then your opposition locks in Lilia, well, you need to have more point-and-click hard CCs in your comp, right? Lilia is a champion that can really just dash around champions that don't have an effective way to lock her down. There are very few champions in the game that can keep up with Lilia in a speed-to-speed duel. So something with the Rise, who has that ability to just definitively, concretely lock down the Lilia for those crucial seconds for the rest of the team to catch up and melt her, makes a lot of sense to me. Going into the bans, we're seeing a lot of healthy tanks getting banned away, and 1/4 one. So lots of, you'll notice a lot of engage options here banned away. Of course, disengage as well are fulfilled from Tom and Braum. Wow, I'm a rhymer. Didn't even know it. Anyways, so that's a signal that both teams do expect to. It was an interesting, right? Because you notice both teams ban an engage and both team bans a disengage. So that's a sign that both teams are planning to duke it out, right? Like both teams are banning the disengage to allow their engage tools to be more effective, but also the engage to ensure that the enemy team can't effectively get onto their own carries. So we have Smolder from Monkeys Chopped, and I guess for Monkeys Maui, you do have. None of those three champions are as effective as their own of a late game win condition of Smolder, but they all have that ability. Same thing as Rise, right? Rise also fills that role like Lilia, like Mel, that they can consistently and Ashe, of course, being an ADC. You can consistently deal damage, so they're trying to avoid that engage while enabling their own CC tools to land. It's a very interesting second phase of ban, honestly.
Yeah, and the response for Monkey's Chopped is to pick up Alistar for themselves. It is a bit of a contested pick, and as Fearless is around, is one that these teams will want to be picking up early. It explains the Braum takeaway as well, but Senna Malphite going to be the lock-in for Monkey's Maui.
That's very interesting. So Senna actually in a lane like this, right? I mean, I definitely don't mind in something like Alistar. You have to be very wary though, because when you lock in Senna, I was talking about earlier, Ashe allows you a strong side bot lane. Senna does not, right? Senna is a second marksman, so she loses some of that supportive capabilities that you get from picking something like an Alistar or one of the mini supports that was banned away. As a result, you need to expect, if you're Maui, the Monkey's Chop jungler is going to look to play around the Alistar's ability to engage on your double ADC comp and try and punish you in the early game. Consequentially, you do see the Malphite does act as kind of a stabilizer in the top lane, should successfully lock down the Embesso without needing too much help, unless, of course, either of these top laners makes a crucial misstep in the early phases of the game.
Yeah, and in the early phases of the game, talk about Malphite with Lilia already showing and knowing that Frosty is a Lilia player. Locking in the Malphite's probably a blind to the top lane, especially as Gwen gets picked up by Monkey's Chopped, which would very much follow with what they have played before. Shinobi for Monkey's Chopped has played Ambessa before just last week. And so picking up Gwen into the Malphite definitely is Gwen favored getting into the hands of Young Callie. Even though I haven't seen a lot of Gwen for Young Callie, it definitely, if you want to prove yourself as one of the best top laners in the league coming in mid-season, there's definitely the conditions to show that off there for Monkey's Chopped.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm still thinking about this draft because, like I mentioned, there was that interesting like banning phase, right? Like obviously you would know better than I would if Comfort played a role in there, but both teams banning away kind of the two ends of that spectrum leads me to believe that I don't know. I feel like both teams can kind of infer from that what the enemy team is doing, and therefore I'd almost be more impressed if a team was able to pivot away from feeling the need to engage, because they locked in that second phase Alistar and Malphite respectively. I almost feel you can kind of expect that and play more for the disengage counter attack style of composition, and I find it very interesting because I feel like both teams could have been able to take advantage of that, and neither team really did. And I wonder how you feel about that. Do you feel like that's a result of the fact that these teams do share the same organization? They do have that same sort of support staff behind them, molding their play. I do feel like they're definitely demonstrating they're pulling from the same playbook in this game one.
I definitely think it plays a certain impact, but also I think these two teams have separate coaches. Coop coaching Chopped, and I believe it's Frost for, hold on, let me 100% check that. I don't want to make that statement without being completely wrong, but I'm fairly certain it's Frost who's coaching Maui. And if it's not, I know all 12 of the members on this team are going to give me flame for that if it's in fact not the case. But I'm checking right now, and yeah, okay, it is. It's Chime. It's Chime who's coaching them. Okay, well, yeah. Wow.
That's you.
All right, that'll be fun. But either way,
whenever I say something wrong, I can just plead ignorance, right? Like it's no problem for me.
Right. Yeah. But the point still stands. Like there's obviously a lot of communication between these two teams. Like Monkeys are, as an org, definitely. There's not a lot of segregation between teams. Like they'll speak to each other. They'll learn from each other and improve as an organization. So it does play a role. I think I don't think it's oh my god, these are basically the same team who they constantly talk to each other, right?
Interesting.
The
outcomes of this first draft.
I also wouldn't be completely surprised if there was some sort of almost gentleman's agreement about we're going to be playing something similar against each other just to prove who's better. In that, knowing a few of the players on the teams, I wouldn't be completely surprised. I'm not privy to that information, so I couldn't tell you for sure. And even if I was, I don't think they would want me to be saying that
Yeah, of course.
on
No, I
stream.
just
So
it's interesting because these drafts do share a lot of similar aspects. I usually find myself having a stronger opinion going into the game of whose draft I prefer. But in this game, I'm still thinking about it. I'm still not sure. I mean, both drafts definitely feel like they have relative. It's interesting, right? Because it feels like they have relatively similar strengths and weaknesses. But the fact of the matter of League is a game where you cannot have, at least no longer, right? I mean, Korea back in the day with their best of fives is a different story, but you can no longer have mirror matchups in the champion role. So even though both teams have this kind of late game or hyperscaler in Smolder and Senna, the fact of the matter is that they have different graphs, right? Senna just continuously grows when Smolder's really looking for that one big spike at the 225 stack timer. Likewise, we have your big engage tools here. If you have Malphite ultimate versus like Alistair headbutt pulverized combo, similar yet different because of the nature of the champion. And of course, the fact that Alistair is in this appropriate role while Malphite is going to be in the top lane, like you mentioned, presumably going to be playing against a Gwen with an Investiflict jungle. So it's interesting, and it's tough really for me to make a statement. I don't feel confident or confident saying Team A or Team B has a decisive edge going to this game. I think it will. This is a good draft to do exactly what you say. Show who's better, right? It's going to come down to execution. It's going to come down to team play and these and playmaking in these big fights. So I'm excited to see what they have in store for us here.
I think if there is going to be an edge, I would personally give it to Monkey's Maui because Monkey's Chopped are a little bit like fresher. They haven't been playing together as a team as long. Meanwhile, Monkey's Maui has a lot of players, especially middies, is really good at elevating the play of his team. I think is what it's like. He's like I probably one of my favorite supports to watch at this level because of that. And I think especially this early on into the season, we're only in week 4. And like I said, considering all the changes Monkey's Chopped has made, I think right now I would personally give it to Maui. Not really anything to do with draft, but mostly to
your stare won't ever let me go. I'm here only 'cause I'm aware with you is better than all alone. Oh, 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 say what you're dying to say. No, 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 no. Oh, oh, tonight we're stars, but we'll fade away. Go on and light me up. Oh, go on and light me up while we're golden. Come on and light me up. Oh, come on and light me up before we come down. Stars will always come down. So before we come down, down, down. Go on and light me up. Oh, go on and light me up while we're golden. Come on and light me up. Oh, come on and light me up before we come down. Go on and light me up. Oh, go on and light me up while we're golden. Come on and light me up. Oh, come on and light me up before we come down. Show me where all your secrets lie and where your wild things go. Time ain't ever been on our side, so between now until we go home. Oh, 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 say what you're dying to say. No, 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 no. Oh, oh, tonight we're stars, but we'll fade away. Oh, go on and light me up. Oh, go on and light me up while we're golden. Come on and light me up. Oh, come on and light me up before we come down. Stars will always come down. So before we come down, down, down. Stars will always come down. Go on and light me up. Oh, go on and light me up while we're golden. Come on and light me up. Oh, come on and light me up before we come down. Go on and light me up. Oh, go on and light me up while we're golden. Come on and light me up. Oh, come on and light me up before we come down. What does it mean to be happy? 'Cause it looks like we all don't know. Glass half full or empty. Man, we just putting on a show. Try to look to the heavens to tell us things that we beg to know. Like what did the song mean? There's no tomorrow. Oh, you know I try to find a purpose in my life to drive me, to guide me. Oh, doctor, I feel dead inside. broken dreamer is your mind. For all the scars let's leave them behind. We light the world up now, let us fire in your eyes. Through the darkness into the night. Oh, broken dreamer is your mind. For all the scars let's leave them behind. We light the world up now, let us fire in your eyes. Through the darkness into the night.
We have loaded onto the Rift for some Monkeys Civil War action between Maui and Chopped After Hours. Welcome into promises to be an exciting series, one that is filled with a few like star players, in my opinion, at this level. Middies specifically in the bot lane for Maui, as well as Slappy for After Hours sticks out quite a bit and are some pretty long-time members of the amateur scene, but obviously they aren't the only ones coming up to this one, because we kind of focused on it a little bit, and I'm going to point out that young Callie in the top lane up against Hunter 85M7 has gone the Ignite in this matchup.
Yeah, not only that, but I noticed that Hunter 85 M7 went Arcane Comet. So Malphite, at least last season, my information may be a little bit out of date here, has multiple rune choices, right? You go the Grasp if page, for instance, if you're planning to not poke your opponent out and just trying to out-sustain them, because Arcane Comet signifies you're going to go Q max and try and kill them early. Through that poke combo, you hit 6, you ult. The issue is Gwen with her Howled Miss has the ability to completely negate the damage from your ultimate. Or not from your ultimate, from your Q poke. So we'll see if a Hunter 85 is able to get much impact of that rune, as we see a little bit proc there, and yeah, the Scorch as well. So that's the plan up there. We'll see if that pays out dividends, because that rune page is weaker once you make it out of laning phase. Elsewhere, we do also see that Ferromancy went Cleanse on Rise. That is a very interesting summoner spell choice. It does make them more resilient against things like the Lilia Sleep and the Ashes global ultimate, but it does mean you lose your ability to get these early recalls in for resource advantages for your lane. So we'll see if Lees is able to properly punish Ferromancy for that lack of a laning summoner.
Meanwhile, early on, the extra range of the Senna compared to the Alistar has been putting in some work for the bot lane of Monkeys. Maui poking out Fallen Warrior a decent amount, getting that health bar down to alleviate the pressure of the all-in that Alistar can have, especially as junglers are moving to the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and I agree with the decision of both of these junglers. Let your top laners duel it out. They'll be fine. That's what top lane is for. The Senna, the Smolder, these are the champions that can really determine the fate of this game, and you want to give them all support you can. So you do expect Frosty to reach there faster. Lilia just naturally has a faster clear than Ambessa. No surprise there, which is needed as Maui's bot lane does the push, as expected, with that range support and ability support matchup. So if Ambessa rushed down there fast enough, they would be easy picking. So really, so far this match is going exactly as you expect these champion matchups to play out. The push gain from bot lane allows Maui to get the first move, but it's quickly matched, and
Nobi going to have to flash away, but they did pick up the first Scuttle Crab in the process, but now we move to the bottom half map. First Blood getting picked up by Weez, but we continue in the bottom lane. Slappy getting slowed. Slappy doing his best to escape. Doesn't have access to the Flap. Flap going to eventually barrier and will survive, but without much HP. Shinobi actually takes some time to move back to the bottom half map and doesn't go to the top half to double Scuttle.
Crucially, barrier flash.
Oh wait, hold on, Slappy.
A well-timed piercing light, I believe it's called, or piercing darkness, from as well as the volley from the bot lane ADC duo is enough to finish off the little dragon. 2-0 for Maui in the early stages of this game. Oh, good trade from Young Call there. what looked like a strong health advantage for the Malphite was quickly dissipated by the Summer Spell and the fully stacked Sweet Pot of the Snip Snip. Bone Blading burnt.
Yeah, and I mean, they didn't quite get the kill though, but we're going to get a replay of that previous fight in the bottom, or actually the mid lane, it appears. Now, we obviously saw the first blood message go in the way of Wheeze with this solo kill, but exactly how it happened, we will be able to see now. Obviously, there's Shinobi moving up to the top side of the map. Didn't quite get the snare. Didn't really matter in the end, though. Just added, the damage on the execute came through, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah, almost looked like a bit of miscommunication there. You see Shinobi walking up. It almost looked like Fairmancy was a little overconfident, expecting the jungler to be able to support them when that just was not the reality in that situation. But of course, that's all just an assumption on my part. You can see the continuous pokes and is able to provide. It's an incredibly oppressive lane matchup in the 2v2, actually, if you're able to get ahead.
Slappy taking quite low, but Grim might be a little bit separated. Headbutt Pulverize goes in. There's not a lot of follow-up from Slappy. Fallen Warrior now going out to walk away, but takes a ton of damage on the way out. Middies going forward, knowing there's no Headbutt or Pulverize from Fallen Warrior, but it's come back up cooldown now. Forced to flash away from Middies, but it's actually a bait. Grim to fire, getting the 2v2 kill onto Fallen Warrior.
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. There's just not much follow-up. This is why I highlighted that Shinobi would have to pay a lot of attention to the bot lane, because when you lock in that Smolder, you get the crazy guaranteed late game win condition. You get that far, but what you lose is early game damage. So when you have a champion like Alistar who's able to lock down one of these AD carries, you actually don't have the damage from Smolder the way you would have something like a Tristana or Samira to delete them or delete their health bar before the Alistar's cooldowns are used up. As a result, when you play Alistar in a matchup like this, it's very difficult to actually look for engages in the 2v2. You want to look for engages with your jungler. Your main role in this lane without your jungler in the 2v2 is actually just to headbutt them away, play disengage, use your passive to heal.
Oh, flash forward from Wee's got to get you up. Ferromancy going to be killed by the Golden Eclipse. Yet another solo kill for Weeze. Ferromancy not quite respecting the execute damage that they have on the Mel.
Yeah. And that's why when I mentioned the Cleanse Summoner, I was saying it's for something like Lilia or Ash's ult. I was not saying it's for lane, right? Even though you can cleanse the root from Mel, that champion just doesn't really operate around their crowd control in such a manner as for it to GTO.
Frosty and Shinobi fighting over Scuttle Crabs, one that when I spoke to them before this match said that they could see some action around, see some deaths. We won't see any blood spilt this time around, but I believe it was an early smite from Frosty that left the Scuttle Crab on 2 HP that leads it going the way of Shinobi.
Yeah, and it is already about a 2k gold lead for Maui, 7 minutes in, with about almost 1,000 each for the mid and ADC over their respective laning oppositions. We do see the first dragon's up, and it has been up for a while. A little shocked by that. I mean, I guess it doesn't work with Frosty's timer. They're going to probably path down now and look for Dragon after that, because at the end of the day, you're still playing against a Smolder. You're still playing against a Rise. You do have to respect that. But I guess they're with their own late game answers to these strong late game champions. Not like they get just exclusively outscaled. I guess they'd rather not flip anything, right? They're playing it the slow and safe way, which I can respect for sure. It does definitely look like it's not going to quite line up perfectly with the bot lane timing with the jungle. They might actually be able to make it though. Yeah, if they're able to slow push this wave in and crash it, they could time it up with Lilia reaching the Dragon Pit. If Lilia does their camps first, it gets a little bit trickier because the wave is bouncing back, right? So, but maybe they have such a lead that doesn't matter. But you lose the timer to reset and then get on map too heavily on Dragon.
Oh,
flash forward.
Middy's going too far forward. Flash from Fallen Warrior gets him with Pulverize range, headbutting him back under tower, but it's not enough to find the kill. Slappy's one auto attack away. Grim to fire, picking up that 2v2 kill, and now with the Unbreakable, Fallen Warrior will escape, but just barely, and we'll have to recall with the wave under his tower.
Yeah, it's just so hard, right? Like everything went right for the side. For the red monkeys here, but it just doesn't matter with the situation being what it is. When you're facing an Ashe with a BF sword and all you have is a Caulfield's Warhammer on a Smolder, you don't even have your 125 stack ability to splash and hit the Senna after they're able to disengage a little. So it becomes super challenging to look for those engages, which does mean it'll be a free dragon for the side of Maui. And let's see if Shinobi is thinking about doing anything topside, but they should have been spotted by the minions, so it's no secret that they're there anyways.
Yep, the wave shoved in. Shinobi is moving towards this bush behind Hunter, but there's a ward there, so Hunter knows he is in a bit of trouble. Will do his best to clear out the lane as quickly as possible, and will do so. Won't quite stop the recall of Shinobi, but does survive.
Yeah, the top lane has been relatively quiet insofar as kills. But you notice will be the 20 CS,
Slappy
almost
getting
30 CS
slowed. Middies pressing
Afterhours,
forward. Will take a decent chunk of damage out onto Slappy. Gets him low again, and well, for Slappy, currently it feels like the bot lane of the After Hours team is the one kind of getting slapped currently.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in for sure. You really just don't have much agency. You have to play around, well, exactly this. Your jungle,
Roam's
your
coming
mid.
down, Shinobi, as well as the Realm Warp coming in. It'll be a 4v2. Middies and Grim Defier in trouble. Going to hold on to the public execution for now for Shinobi. Instead, they look to turn on to Grim Defier. Mom will be called public execution. Finally comes out, finds its way onto Weez. Not quite getting the kill. Now the damage from Weez comes through. Finds the execution onto 2. Double kill for Weez. Headbutt pulverized from Fallen Warrior to try to punch back. Finds its way onto the 3. But Ferromancy's too far away. And a triple kill goes the way of the mid laner of Monkeys Maui. But don't stop there. We've got a gank coming into the top lane. Frosty the King looking to find the kill onto Young Callie. It's going to be a 2v1. Milting Lullaby will be used. Getting sleepy, getting killed, slammed down. Frosty the King picking up another kill for Monkeys Maui, making it 9-0 to Maui.
It's the side lanes from Hawaii because it's all Maui here. It's in that bot lane play. I respect the effort. That's what you need to be doing, but the tempo wasn't quite there. Weez with the teleport was able to get in time to help bail out their bot lane. In addition, because Maui's been having to free farm this entire game, they had basically all their summoners up, right? We saw that they locked down Minions was able to flash away, right? They locked down Grim Defier. Defier's able to flash away, and they weren't quite able to get the crucial 4-man burst with the point-and-click CC from the Rise and Alistair to fully delete one of those characters and get that nice bounty gold that is present on every member now of Maui minus their top laner.
Yeah, and the bounty gold definitely well deserved currently for Maui, especially onto Weez sitting 5-0 on the Mel, 2 of which were solo kills onto Ferromancy. One that now sees him up 2k gold, has a Blackfire Torch in inventory, as well as the upgraded boots over a Rod of Ages that's just barely starting to get stacked.
Yeah, it's a 5k gold, and as you pointed out, it's more than that almost, right? Dusk and Dawn is of course a very strong item, but Axiom Arc and Roar are both these items that kind of gain value as the game progresses, that you get additional items because if you didn't know, Axiom Arc's ultimate cooldown reduction passive actually scales with lethality. So the more lethality items you get, such as what's the item that slows on auto attacks like 9%? Red Cane builds it. You know what I'm talking about? It's one.
Yeah, it's the, gosh darn it, I should know
right?
this. I see the image in my head. I see the icon in my brain, right? I'm like, right, it's like, it's called the item.
The item, yeah. So obviously I'm best like to build the item that gives lethality, and it's when you get all that stacking on your on that, or that lethality stacking for the cooldown reduction pass. So if you're able to do that thing where you ultimate kill someone, 10 seconds later you get your ultimate again, right? And you just get to keep having a good time. As a result, it's 5k gold lead. It's kind of more. You already have a Dragon 2, though the second is coming up in 30 seconds, so you can only imagine that Maui will lock it down as well with this permanent priority they have in the bot lane. No teleport on Rise for the entire game, and we know that the Realm Warp is up. It should be hard pressed for the Rise to get any sort of agency in their lane as well. What with Mel being 5-0, so Weez will have to be the one with the first move, most likely.
Yep, Slappy could
Frosty.
actually be in and get in trouble. Grim Defier slowing him down. Sorry, it's now Fallen Warrior taking him down to about 1/10 HP. The ult over the top from Middies doesn't do a lot of damage just yet. Doesn't really have a very damaging build on Senna. Going for the Echoes of Helia instead. Going to be looking to heal more so than deal damage. So we're not quite going to be able to find that kill, but I don't really think they really care all too much because now Slappy in a bit of trouble. Hit by the snare of Mac Mittens. Grim Defier picking up his 4th kill of the game.
Oh,
On to the mid lane. Weez going to use the Golden Eclipse to find the kill onto Ferromancy. And so now it's a 1v1 between Weez. But if you got the rotation up from Frosted King, won't matter that the public execution lands. It's the execution of Shinobi. 2 more kills go the way of Monkey's Maui.
Yeah, just to go back to that balling play a little bit, it's worth mentioning that just you see how ridiculous the damage is from the 280 carry from their head, and there's no real way to engage upon them. I will say as well that the Senna's ultimate did a little bit more damage than expected because it actually forced out Alistar's own ultimate. So not as if they were really had a realistic chance of contesting that second dragon anyways, but that really meant Alistar had the base, and there's really just no chance of contesting that second dragon in the game. A bit of nothing trading happening top lane. Classic matchup. I mean,
Yep.
it's tough. I was talking earlier in the draft about how I wasn't sure about which draft was superior and who the advantage would win the game would depend on execution. Right now, I feel very confident saying that Maui has a massive advantage in this game. So certainly now their draft is definitely much stronger with that two
Yeah,
full
the
items they have
7K.
up.
The 7K gold lead definitely helps quite a bit to make you look really good in terms of matchups, especially since the builds of After Hours will take a bit. Obviously, Rise has the Roa in the inventory. It didn't go for the tier, so it's not going to be that double mana scaling item for the Rise. At least it's highly unlikely at this point that they would choose to go that, and plus they need some immediate power to be able to stand a chance in this game. Does have access to those extra tier 3 boots, which, you know, it's something, but Shinobi is in from behind. We see it down. Grim Defier going to flash immediately. Middy's now in trouble, hit by the public execution, going to flash over the wall, getting the headbutt pulverized down onto Grim Defier, but there's no follow-up. Mom will be called, misses everybody. Fallen Warrior getting low once again. Unstoppable Force not quite going to hit the Smolder. The Dawning Shadow comes over the top. Frosty meanwhile picking up another kill. Grimfire's gotten very low, getting healed up constantly by Middies. Won't care that his health bar is blinking. Now Shinobi running away from Frosted King, but move our attention back over to the mid lane. There is no way for the rest of Monkey's Maui to continue pushing on to Slappy and Young Callie. So the Smolder will get out. It'll give Monkey's Maui access to the mid lane tower.
Once again, a solid looking engage from After Hours, and they're able to burn both flashes of Maui's ball lane, but just no follow through.
Callie in trouble.
Like if they were able to
glimpse.
A part of it has been circumstantial, but it almost feels like if they were able to better synchronize up on one of the two marksmen in that bot lane, they'd have some better success, and they can maybe get their first kill of the game. As Maui's still having a perfect game, I believe. Oh no, the grubs went over, so I guess not quite a perfect game, but they're certainly not. They certainly shouldn't be complaining about this sort of result.
They also have the one plate on the side of After.
Right,
I'm pretty sure.
My apologies.
I feel like those. I don't feel like those shouldn't be considered towards perfect games anymore because they are permanent and not pre 14 minutes.
Yeah.
So.
Were they ever? In my head, it was
I don't know.
power, kills, and neutral objectives, but that
It was
I think I'm just
so.
going off of the achievement, because there's that challenge you can get now in the client, and I believe that.
Oh right.
I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, before we get that,
in.
there's a Realm Warp in from Ferromancy, but he's just
Realm
gone a
Warp.
bit too far forward. There's nowhere to follow up from the side of After Hours, so Ferromancy just escapes. Chanticleer's arrow not quite going to find its way onto Slappy, so no kills go either way. But After Hours just have to lick their wounds once again.
Yeah. So. It's worth noting that while this game is not looking particularly close, if you look at the MVP scores for this league currently, the number 1 and number 2 positions are taken up by a member of each of these two teams. Slappy is currently the front runner, and Frosty is in second place. So this sort of game is exactly the sort of thing that you might expect.
Cut you off there.
Wow.
Shinobi going to use the public execution, but once again, there's a bunch of peel for the side of Monkeys Maui. Not nearly enough follow-up for the After Hours, so any progress that After Hours would have looked for on that fight is completely removed.
Yeah, we just go back to my earlier topic of this is exactly the sort of games that you'd expect to potentially shift that balance as the jungler and bot laner of these two teams respectively.
But let's cut you off again because Shinobi's just given up, stopped moving away from the members of Monkeys Maui. No, he had nowhere to go. So a 15th kill unanswered goes the way of Maui.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you're 15 minutes in, or sorry, it's 20 minutes in. There's 15 kills on the board, and none of them on your side. That's tough. Also, the third dragon of the game will be going over in Maui now as they are able to siege the mid lane tier 2 at the same time. That's
Grim Defier's
they're currently
oh my gosh.
pushing up waves. Yeah, it's.
I mean, he didn't really have a lot of kill pressure there, but that sort of thing of like walking up as the ADC right into the face of 3 enemy team members without a care in the world just kind of shows you the state of things. The fact that the After Hours, and it's not really on like their individual play at this point in time, it's just that so far ahead from Maui that like there's not much they really could have done in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, if we're to play devil's advocate here, we're to say how can After Hours get back in this game? Well, the answer is if you're able to win one good team fight, even though even one team fight, that'd be a great start because there's all these bounties on the board. Now it's the entirety of Maui with the bounties. The difficulty is, of course, that's a lot easier said than done. So I don't know. It's tough. You probably have to break it down into smaller groups. Use your Realm Warp to try and bring your whole team down on a side lane, perhaps, and force a kill there, and then solidify with the advantage. But I don't know how much. But you're running out of time, right? Baron has now spawned. You're 4 minutes away from Soul, and you're running out of the time to do these kind of piecemeal plays that could potentially give you the angle to get back in this game. They will look for this top lane turret, and they'll be forced off by Frosty.
Yeah, and actually Middies and Grim Defier are here. Chance across the arrow lands way on to the Ambessa, and a 3-second stun gives nowhere for Shinobi to go. It's a really easily set up kill by Monkeys Maui.
Set up kill and set up Baron. They're all 5. The enemy jungler is dead. It is free picking for the snake, and After Hours are realizing that and doing the correct play of let's just try and get as many plays as we can on the other side of the map. It's a slim consolation for the purple buff, but you make do with what you can get sometimes on Summoner's Rift, and this is certainly one of those days.
Yeah, there's really not much for After Hours to do in that situation. I don't even know if Baromancy will have enough damage to eventually tick down this bot lane tower. Might do, especially if the response here from Monkeys Maui is to try and find a pick onto an isolated smolder. Flash word from Wheeze won't quite land the snare, and so immediately Slappy going to flash back over the wall. Got to feel that that's definitely going to be more valuable in the hands of Maui, especially with how vulnerable the sides of After Hours is. But does give perhaps a little bit more time for Ferromancy to get a few objective bounties, as well as Young Cali when picking up the top lane and bot lane towers.
Yeah, I guess there's still a gold advantage for Young Kelly, actually, which shockingly enough in this sort of game state. But I suppose if Maui's probably not too upset about that, the Malphite pick certainly is one that almost always acts as a neutralizer. And then you have this strong team fight defining ultimate. It's rarely a champion that you're necessarily expecting to win the game through, so they'll be calling in reinforcements to take this tower that Cali is.
Speaking of Young Cali, he's in a bit of trouble under the tower, waiting for him to be immune. Will cast that now, buying some time, but has used everything. Jessica's arrow finds way onto Young Cali, but the public execution comes in to try to stop the advance. Cali's gone low. Cali's killed by Frost and King. There's no more tower. Unstoppable Force finds its way onto Shinobi. Slappy is very squishy, just followed up quickly on afterwards. Grim Defier getting that kill, and 19 kills go unanswered to the side of Monkeys Maui. We move straight over to the bot lane. Wheeze makes it 20 with a solo kill.
Wow. So anyways, I'm sure as you're well aware, the Winter Olympics are currently ongoing. And so I was looking at that. There's a point to this, I promise. And I was recently during the hockey game or the hockey games.
Oh,
what they do is they go round
yes.
robin, right? And then you have your point differential is how you break out of like or how you break tiebreakers, right? That's what they care about, the score differential.
Yeah.
After Hours should be very thankful that is not how we do things here in Ember League, because this would be a horrible game to be on the opposite side of if we were tallying up points based on like kill differential. It's top 20-0.
You're talking about the I mean it was Canada Switzerland, I believe, was the game that's actually, I think it was like 11-1 the way of Canada, which I guess is pretty expected. I mean, Switzerland has a few
there was a Canada France
good players on that team. Oh yeah, that one was like 8-0 or something.
Yeah.
That was crazy. I mean, Canada good at hockey? No way. That's never.
Yeah, hey, I've got to remember
right?
somehow. You know, I'd slip it in here.
Oh right, of course.
The more important event of Ember League here. It's continued Maui dominance. 20-0, almost 12.5 gold lead, 50,000 gold. I mean, what do? You've got a 10-stack Darkseid Lilia. You can only expect that to go to Mage Ice and get an even faster deer running around the Rift. You've got a bunch of MR on the side of Hunter. 85, clearly that continued matchup against the double AP solo sideliners. And you have,
I don't know if he's been spotted now by the he missed the public execution.
Public execution missed it.
Dang.
And that's Mountain Soul for Maui. ARAM. That's what I expect here. ARAM. And keep pushing forward.
Yeah, Ferromancy not even going to be able to use the Realm Warp to escape. Now is a target of Hunter, who's been stacking that magic resist. Ferromancy going to do his best to run away, but it's going to be slowed up constantly by the cheese wheels of Hunter. They cannot escape from Hunter, who now hit by the Dawning Shadow just to get a little bit of extra damage down onto Ferromancy. One more cheese wheel is all he needs. Yeah. Rolls his way. Hunter 85 M7 getting the solo kill onto Ferromancy. Slappy going to use the barrier to prevent the kill. And now there is going to be Shinobi. Oh, no, you're right. You're right. It was not a solo kill. This is true. My mistake. Yeah, this is absolute case. Fallen Warrior flashing forward, trying to find the head, but Pulverize just not in range to be able to go in on Monkey's Maui. Even if he did, Shinobi was already very low and Slappy was back in base, so it would have been ill-advised. Probably a bit lucky that it didn't go through anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you have to expect that. Maui must be alternative player. I'm sure they know. I'm sure they're we'll see. Either they're all going to run to the next end of the game, or they're going to play super far back and make sure they maintain such a wonderful scoreline for the eyes. If you're, of course, a Maui supporter, I suppose.
Up 21-0 the way of Monkey's Maui. It's going to be the final push for them, perhaps. After Hours can find a miracle engagement. They do onto Grim to fire, but there's so much peel for the side of Monkey's Maui and not nearly enough damage for After Hours. Everyone on Monkey's Maui are completely healthy and absolutely fine with the outcome of this fight. 3 kills go the way of Weez, who's now sitting 10-0-1 on the Mel. He's going to find a bit more on top of that. Flashing forward now, trying to find the final kill. They do onto Ferromancy just for the extra stat boost. 26-0 and 16k gold, and the Nexus goes the way of Monkey's Maui in one of the most comprehensive games of League of Legends I've seen at the amateur level.
Yeah, that's the way to put it. Of course, this is a best of 3, and at the end of the day, a 26-0 game counts exactly as much as a 26-26 game. It doesn't matter if it's a stomp or dead even. It counts as one game on the scoreboard. So what I always think of as one of the most important things going into Game 2 after such a decisive initial game is, if you're After Hours, do that to afford to say, you know what? That sucked, but that's okay. We brush it off. We approach the next game as if nothing happened, or because the worst thing to happen here, of course, is for you to let this game carry over to the next one. And of course, you know these players better than I do, so you'd have more to say on whether if you think these players are the type of players to just be able to completely brush it off or not.
think most players at the like playing in amateur leagues have some level of ability to be able to blow these off, because obviously league players have a reputation of having very low like have a very low tilt I don't know, like threshold
Floor.
where
Yeah.
yeah, right, but yeah, like a tilt floor where it's like, but if we when you start like playing and like watching like any sort of organized event, these are
Hmm.
players who typically kind of want to escape that and play with
Oh, for sure.
other players who have that same sort of mentality and respect for the game as each other. And frankly, quite a few of these players have been playing around for a while, and I think especially Shinobi is such a team player, as well as Fairmancy. This team's certainly going to have each other's back even after a loss this big. And yeah, and if there is anyone who are going to follow the wise words of Ted Lasso and be a goldfish after a loss like this, it's going to be Monkeys After Hours for sure.
But that's great to hear and great points, because it certainly was a decisive game when the enemy support has more damage than any individual member of your team. It's that's a sign, right? Decisive game, 15,000 gold
Yeah.
advantage at the end of it. Whoa.
Yeah.
But we'll see as well, though.
Hey,
After hours,
there's
long
also the
series,
flip side.
still plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, there's also the flip side. When you dominate so far ahead, I've seen teams also get so overconfident, get so used to having such an advantage that the start of the next game is a bit of a wake-up call for them, and all of a sudden they don't have an extra 10k gold under their belt to slap the enemy team around. So we'll have to see if that
There's no way
plays
to
a
go
factor
down, right?
going into game. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be tough for Monkeys Maui to really top this victory. Obviously, that we would want to conclude it with a sweep, but we'll have to wait and see until the start of the draft of Game 2, which will come after this short break. We'll be seeing you in a little bit. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everyone. We are ready to go once again for the draft of Game 2 here in this monkey civil war between Chopped, Afterhours, and Maui. And, well, Chopped, moving on to the blue side of this game, we know they need to make a lot of changes considering how that first game went. And, well, one of them will be to give themselves a first pick, which they, went straight through picks and bans, which they're going really quick. Jinx would very likely to be the first choice for Chopped Afterhours, knowing the champ pools of these two ADCs are getting very pinched. They really like the Ashe, Jinx, and Caitlyn are the three contested picks, so being able to pick that one up early for Chopped will do them a world of good.
Yeah, I mentioned that. It did definitely feel that last game that Maui just wasn't able to do anything the entire game. The bot lane became so skewed so quickly that there was just really no opportunity to demonstrate what you're able to do as this bot lane that's been performing very well so far in this league. So this to me signals that this is going to be a draft that's strong side spot as opposed to weak siding it, and it spends more time playing around Slappy, which is a little bit too bad though, just because Young Cali certainly didn't have a horrible performance last game. But we will see Corki as the once again ADC handshaking on the first picks for the two teams. We also, if you look at the band, they're similar yet different. Sion and Shen for Maui were in fact banned last game, but Tom was banned but second round. And then for After Hours, you have Viego and Xin were both banned, but I believe Victor was not. I'm trying to remember what the last ban was.
It was
Poppy.
Either way, we're moving on quickly through. Jarvan was picked up.
You warned me about this pick.
No, okay, yeah. No, okay, but that's for Maui support. That's for middies. That is the middies.
Okay.
Middies is a Poppy god, so it's more of a takeaway away from Maui. And honestly, Maui, it might be a little bit early from Chop to be. Oh, okay. Well, they go for the Thresh instead, which means they are going to flex Poppy around the map. That could go into the hands of Shinobi or Young Cali. Knowing what these two players play, though, I'm going to be inclined to believe it's more likely going to the hands of Shinobi. Especially into Jarvan.
I'm also inclined to believe that. Mostly exactly because of the Jarvan matchup. Obviously, you never, if you ult a Poppy as Jarvan, you just get heroic charge into your wall and stunned. If you ult someone else as Jarvan around a Poppy, you also get pushed into your wall and stunned. So it's, ulted right out of it with the Poppy ult. So certainly a strong pick there. You also have Poppy's steadfast presence as a effective tool against Corki's Valkyrie as well. So you're able to set up a situation where if you're able to get on top of the enemy AD carry, you're able to turn off their ability to escape, which can be very effective. We see Nautilus as an engage support picked to support this Corki. So pretty fighty bot lane. I would say in the 2v2, you'd expect After Hours to need a little bit more jungle support. Thresh isn't quite as much of an all-in engage champion as Nautilus is, because Thresh, of course, has these tools to disengage as well with your lantern and your ability to flay to peel and whatnot. So going back to the second round bans, we're seeing a similar start to last game.
Hearing it's a Zahin ban. So the thing, the graphics package, for whatever reason, it hasn't quite. It just hates Zahin, but it is a Zahin ban on the side of Monkeys Maui. We get confirmation from that empty ban was not missed, just taken away. So we won't quite see that coming through. It's one that has been rising in popularity ever since his jungle clear got buffed. It's one that I've definitely seen take over games, at least in Cinder League, so not going to see him this time around.
Zahin was banned in the first round of bans last game. That was one of the bans that skipped this game. So it is interesting to see that it was left open, yet neither team picked it up, at least in the first three picks. So interesting to see that it was decided that it was worth banning for the second round. We see a Hui for the mid lane. What are your thoughts on this champion?
I think it's fine. I also think it's one that's it's a takeaway from Fairmancy. because Ferromancy is a support main and has really only recently picked up mid lane. And so as a result, their champion pool is a little bit shallow, at least in terms of mid lane champions. And because Sway's maybe not the most meta pick ever, if you're talking about the meta within this series to get away from Monkey's Chopped, I think it's fine.
Interesting. I do like Renekton as your blind pick top lane. Strong, classic blind pick for the top lane for team play, and always has been and likely always will be. So hard to complain too much about that pick, especially when you've got a hyper carry bot lane. I know I mentioned that you can strong side Jinx a little bit more than Smolder, but it's still not, the strongest early game pick. So being able to leave your top lane alone and just fully commit your jungle resources, bot lane makes a lot of sense to me here. Likewise with Taliyah, you have your ability to play to either side of the map. You go bot to support your win condition, or you could go top, and then Renekton can make a very good Pantheon impression if need be with that Ruthless Predator. Swain last pick.
Ooh, okay. Swain going into the hands of Hunter is one that I've not seen him play at all. One that's not really in or one that at least I'm not familiar with as being in their wheelhouse. So, I guess I see the vision because there's a lot of relatively short range champions on the side of Monkey's Chopped, and Swain does really like champs running into him, especially once he gets access to that ultimate. So I see the angle. You get the extra range over the Renekton early on as well. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah,
I'm intrigued. And
you know what? There must be something in the air because so far this series, both games we've had nothing but AP or solo laners on red side. So there we go. That's one of the classic useless facts. I don't know what you can derive from that, but that's something. But yeah, no, Swain top very interesting. We used to see, actually, I do believe used to play him a lot more in those side lanes back before his rework, and of course more recently in his timeline, he's been more balanced around support. So while he is still playing those solo laners, I know there is a decently faithful Swain community. It's just not where most players are used to seeing him nowadays. But like you point out, he is exactly good at those long sustained fights where he's able to keep people in his demonic ascension for as long as possible. Your points of concern if you're playing Swain into Afterhours here is most likely the Taliyah, actually, because the Taliyah is able, with the Weaver's Wall and the your upheaval abilities, you're able to push him away or lock him down so he loses that ultimate cooldown, and then Swain will still get a lot of work done, isn't nearly as threatening in these skirmishes and team fights as he otherwise would be.
I also like a lot of the synergy with Monkey's Chopped's draft here. I mean, Renekton, Taliyah, you get a nice easy point and click stun, sets up some really good seismic shoves, but also the Poppy can use the audacious charge over the minefield that Taliyah throws down, and it guarantees a stun over that, as well as the damage as a potential synergy there. And also, Thresh Jinx is one that's a bit of a classic. The Lantern gives Jinx the safety that she needs to be able to stay at range and start, putting out damage, even though Swain does good in these extended fights. And to short range champions, Chop does have a fair share of abilities to, keep them at arm's length if they need to.
Yeah, I like it. I feel like it definitely has a very cohesive draft identity. Of course, like you mentioned, the Poppy can charge over the Taliyah's Sheriff, but also has their own anti-dash. So you'll notice that Maui's first 3 champions all have abilities which can be blocked by these anti-dash cooldowns. And then you'll notice they immediately pivot away from that and pick 2 mobile mages because it's just too much, right? I mean, I would not want to play... what's a incredibly dashy champion? I wouldn't want to play like a Samir into that.
Best. Best's already been played, but
Best, that would be horrible. Anyways, so yeah, I mean, I'd probably say I like Afterhours comp. I think it is definitely a one-trick pony. And what I mean by that is your Jinx is your win condition. Your Jinx how you win fights. It's your main damage output. I mean, obviously Renekton and Taliyah can together burst someone, but if to kill the entire team in team fight, you need Jinx. So it does leave it Too Slappy to play around your Swain CC, your Hui CC, your Nautilus point and click ultimate is the point of is actually my biggest point of concern because things like the Jarvan Cataclysm can be blocked with your Poppy or Talia cooldowns. So, anyways, I think it's all going to come down to Slappy, to that Jinx. If the Jinx can get ahead versus the Jinx can fall behind or falls behind, those are two very different games. But I do have a 100% prediction to you or for you here that no matter what happens this game, a monkey team will come out on top.
No way. That's preposterous.
I can tell you now. I can see into the future.
Either way, whichever monkey's team comes out on top, it does have a different outcome. Obviously, Afterhours looking to send us to game 3. Maui looking to conclude a sweep here going into game 2, but we will have to send it to the spectator delay. All our eyes will be on Old Reliable for the side of monkeys chopped Afterhours to carry these fights through on the Jinx. But we'll have to wait and see if they can do that after this short break. Don't go anywhere. going to land immediately. Middies, though, Dredgeline in response. Hooks on hooks, and now the means it's two separate 1v1s, for being completely honest, between Middies and Fallen Warrior and Slappy and Grim Defier. But, they just take small chunks of health away from each other and go back to laning as is.
Yeah, I'll say I do like to say that though, because I mentioned that at the end of last game. It's good to know you can shake off that. That hook from Fallen Warriors to me lets me know they're not affected by that last game. They're still looking to win this, so that's great to see. We did also see the difference in augments there, like Glacial Augment versus Aftershock. Well, we'll have to see if that continues to play out. It does make a lot of sense to me with the Glacial Augment, specifically if your goal is to just make sure Jinx stays alive. Being able to slow down enemy engages can be quite effective. But we'll have to see if Thresh suffers from a lack of durability, from lacking that, what is it called? The durability, resilience word, or keystone.
The armor and MR, resistances, that's the word. Before we get to that, hook lands a square on to Slappy. He gets him very low. The follow-up from Grim Defier is there, but not quite enough to find the kill onto Slappy. Death Sentence is returned onto Grim Defier, but there's no follow-up from the Jinx, flashing away from Middies, who lands a hurt. First blood goes the way of Monkey's Maui. Now Fallen Warrior might be on the wrong side of the map. The auto attack will get the snare onto Fallen Warrior, is in vision with the ward in the bush. Middies, though, has to wait for his Dredgeline to come back off cooldown. Not quite going to hit the mark, and instead it drags him towards the wall, gets the Death Sentence for Fallen Warrior, does have the shield, will use it for himself on Feel's auto attacks from Fallen Warrior. Won't quite get one for himself to be able to land the snare, so it'll just be the one kill going the way of Monkey's Maui.
Yeah, hooks are flying all over the place in that ball, and you mentioned that it was 2-star 1v1s in that little early trade. Well, the same thing happened there. Both supports doing their best to kill the opposite ADC. So you notice that Middens was able to get the full Viper Ignite, land the hook to burn through Slappy's barrier. Well, Grim Defier's barrier was able to survive Fallen Warrior's Ignite, but it was very close for sure. And it's worth noting that while it obviously sucks to lose a kill, right as you're talking about, it's important that Jinx gets ahead. The kill does go over to the Nautilus, so it's not the end of the world, and you do actually get this relatively advantageous wave state, though that's not saying much. It should be mostly evened out here, assuming Grim Defier can get most of those last hits, but you actually do deny a little bit of XP from the opposing bot lane, and you can't be too upset with that result, actually. Meanwhile, Ferromancy, almost out of mana here, still does not have the teleport on barrier this time. That suggests to me more so that you mentioned that they're a recent convert to the mid lane. I wonder if they're not quite as comfortable with using that purple Sunder spell as you might expect your average mid laner to be. And we'll see if they get rewarded or punished for running the defensive combat summoner. Lots of damage coming from
and
this
actually
lane,
the pullback now onto young Callie. Hunter really winning this top lane matchup with the extra range over the Renekton. Quite going to be able to find a kill just yet. Speaking of that mid lane, though, Wheeze is taken quite low, but does have access to the teleport, as you've said, that Ferromancy does not, so they don't mind as much. Hook lands, it's on to young Callie, who will have to slice and dice away. Is getting dangerously low, but speaking of teleports, does have access to it. Ferromancy in a bit of trouble, has no mana to use the berry immediately, so there's no response from Wheeze, and it's the solo kill to Ferromancy. We were kind of questioning the choice for the barrier, but it works out for him in that one.
Yeah, the answer is definitely
Death Sentence lands way onto Middies. We're not done with any sort of action just yet. Middies holding on to that dredge line. Won't commit to it. Oh, of course, why did I say that? He uses it now, catches out Slappy, but, the Lantern is there for Fallen Warrior. Right as is about to hand it over. Not quite going to find the kill, but takes Slappy down half HP.
Yeah, channeling the Hex Flash here. I think it was spotted, yeah.
It was spotted, and I don't think his dredge line was off cooldown just yet, so.
Yeah, anyways, so for that mid lane play, it is worth noting that, Ferromancy gets huge dividends on the Sunder spell pick. I wonder if Weeze even noticed, because what you can do if you're in Weeze's situation is you're both basically out of health and out of mana, so you can actually base, reset with teleport, and then you're locking Ferromancy in with no resources, no way of killing you, and having to take a bad base or just eventually get killed. But because you forced that fight, you're actually down resources, so it looked even. Ferromancy had that barrier to break that equality and get an early lead for themselves in the mid lane. So Around them, we did see that the cleanse wasn't quite as effective last game, but the barrier is so
He's
far.
going to miss the dredge line. They don't know that Shinobi he's here, but Fallen Warrior is taken very low in the process. Grim Fire gets the kill before the gank comes through. Slappy might even go down as well. Double kill for Grim Fire. Frosted the King arriving to help out with this gank as well to extend the lead of Monkey's Maui. Mittens going under the tower. Maybe he's not quite dying there from 3 tower shots, but he's taken very low. Will adds back away.
Looking for the dive, though.
More, though. Flag drag finds way through. Yeah, it won't matter. Won't matter. He's too low. One more auto attack is all Grim Fire needs to secure the 3rd kill for Monkey's Maui, and it comes all up the side of Maui.
Yeah, very safe dive there. And what I mean by that is, you know, if your timer that Fallen Warrior can't be there yet, and you also can know that Ferromancy bat based, so there was no one coming to save Shinobi there. Yeah, I mentioned that first fight that it wasn't actually that big of a deal. This one is. You now have 3-0-1 Corki piloted by Grim Fire here, and your Jinx is set behind, which of course will make it that much harder to get that definitive gold lead, those items that you need to carry the game on that champion. Yeah, I mean, Afterhours was the first initiate that play, but they just, I guess, overextended a little bit, trying to make it happen. Because Fallen Warrior died before the fight was able to fully break out, so it ended up just still being a 2v2, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and Monkey's Maui took full advantage of it. Now 3-0-1 on the Corki, 1.3k gold up over Slappy in the hands of Grim Fire. Has access to the Sheen as well. Didn't go for the tier this time around, so being a little bit more aggressive with their build path, but I feel that's probably going to be okay and maybe even advantageous to push this lead that they've garnered for themselves.
Yeah, it's first dragon is up, so we'll see if they're able to push that 1.5k gold advantage bot lane into getting priority bot lane into getting those dragons. We saw last game they were a little late in securing the first dragon, but afterwards they were quite effective at stacking those dragons into a soul. Of course, it does become a lot easier when you have as ridiculous of a gold lead. But I will say as well that Afterhours is already doing better the kill department than they were last game, so great start. With that concept in mind.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, that's hard to argue with, but now at 8 minutes, we're going to see something a bit similar to last time around. Hold on, Fairmancy hit by the Spiraling Despair from Wheeze. Will pop the barrier, prevents him from going down, but does not have access to that teleport. Opting in for the barrier. It keeps him alive this time around, but a bit more important than that is that Shinobi has arrived. Audacious Charge is available. Wheeze recognizes it in time, and before going back towards the tower, heads towards the rest of the team in the river on the Drake. That is more than likely going the way of Monkey's Maui.
Yeah, bit of a classic trade of these early neutrals, going one each way. Of course, last season in the Noxian time of year, you could even see this up to twice a game. Sometimes even 3 times, I guess, with Atacon, but that's it for those cross maps. Now you have more staggered timers. I mean, just a wind off rift, so I guess it could still happen, but you do notice that the entirety of Maui is resetting here, so this is something that's really great to see. If you're on a team that you get the objective, you all reset together. This makes sure you get back on map at the same time. Why that's important is it means you're pressuring the map at the same time, because if you stagger your pressure, it becomes very easy to collapse and condense your forces on one of the member that's pushing out, kill them, and because the pressure is staggered, not actually losing all that much in the rest of the map. You push out together, if you get like 3 or 4 man in a side lane, you are able to get something guaranteed on the other side of the map. So it's a classic macro play, but a solid one. It's one that you want to do whenever possible, is reset together after a play like that. We're seeing still actually very
Dredge line going to find its way onto Fallen Warrior, but a good use of the Flame Chompers from Slap to prevent any sort of fallout from Getting Flyer. Now Death Sentence lands onto Middies. The Dredge line comes through, finds its way onto Slappy, who flashes away immediately, so they turn on to Fallen Warrior, who goes down, as his name would suggest. 5-1 the way of Maui.
Well, the hooks are landing on both sides, but it does seem like Maui's getting the better end of it. Yeah, it's after what looked like a pretty rocky early start for Young Cali, that this top lane has stabilized. They're basically even in CS, and it's incredibly casual compared to the rest of the map, right? The rest of the map, you're getting hooks flying all over the place. People are dying in the top lane. And, a bit of an engage, and then they're going to walk away from each other.
Yeah, they're just young Callie, going to heal up and go back to the mid lane. Spiraling Despair, not quite going to hit the mark, but the Cataclysm comes through. Fairmancy flashing out of it. Gone low. Flash response from Frosting the Kings. Auto attack. Not going to find those, but Severing Bolt does from Wheeze. That means he goes for Shinobi. Not quite going to find the damage. He needs to get the kill onto Wheeze, despite how low he's gotten. This puppy doesn't exactly have the most amount of damage or the most amount of range.
Yeah. That was actually very impressive. First, I thought Fairmancy made the Houdini escape and then sniped by that Hui's artillery shell.
Just because I know that one's called Severing Bolt, that's literally the only one that I know the name of.
I caught that.
So.
I was impressed. I don't think I can name a single non-ultimate Hui ability, if I'm being honest. There's just too many. I use that processing power.
Let me get to that. There's no lantern available for Slappy as he gets hit by the dredge line, but Fallen Warrior, the target, he's too close to Grim Defier, who's unstoppable. 5-0-1 on the Corki.
Yeah, 5-0-1 and 40 CS up. They're 3k gold up. They're gonna base and buy whatever they want. Presumably, I don't know, what does Corki build? IE? Did they go Infinity Edge?
Maybe.
Imagine they do.
With the BF sword, BF sword, that's probably going to be the case, yeah.
Watch him do something crazy like Bloodthirster or something.
It's
second.
It's not going to be Yuntals. I mean, it could be Bloodthirster.
No, it would be Yuntals. Yeah,
but those are the three items that build that
almost
BF sword,
is
I
IE
believe,
because
right?
they started Essence Reaver, but it's just that one cloth armor that's throwing me off. Like, I wonder whether they're gonna do that. Is it gonna be boots? Is that gonna be Guardian Angel? Who knows? But probably not. Probably not.
True. GA second,
right? You're Grim Defier. You're going, man. I didn't die last game. I haven't died this game. I gotta go GA second. I gotta preserve that KDA.
True. You're right.
You're about to see. Yeah, it's gonna be the.
It's going to be IE. Yeah.
All right, fine.
Hold on. These has gotten very low. Fairman's going to find a solo kill. Something we hadn't seen quite a bit from him this time around, using the barrier as a defensive combat summoner, but it comes clutch in once again.
Yeah, I question the barrier pick of the game. You know what? My apologies, Fairmancy. I was not familiar with your game. Barrier tally looks great, honestly. You've got your ultimate. Why do you need to teleport?
Oh, but the Nevermore hits its way onto young Callie, who immediately pops dominance in response, just to get himself that little bit of health back up to hopefully set up a gank for Shinobi, but it will be spotted out by a ward in the Pixel Brush, so not going to advance off that. Hunter's out.
Yeah, man, Tower's already cracked bot lane, so we'll see what they do. It looks like they're rotating up to take this Dragon, which is up in 3 seconds, and then I imagine they're going to send Grim Defier mid lane to take those plates, or maybe Fairmancy's life potentially.
Fairmancy can't get away from 3, has no flash, has no barrier. Will be another kill going the way of Monkeys. Maui showing some good heads up play there, knowing Fairmancy has no summer spells to collapse onto him.
Well, yeah, that's a nasty one, because not only those summoners, but you also you see them walk up to river, but you expect them to be on dragon, right? That's one of those things of it was greedy, but
he flashes forward, finds the dredge line onto Slappy once again, setting up yet another kill for Grim Defier. 6 kills now on that champion. Shinobi, the target of Middy's double kill for Grim. Doesn't matter that the Poppy is decently tanky at this point in time. Grim Defier brings the damage.
Yeah, it's starting to look like a rerun of last game, honestly. We have just such a crazy gold lead once again from Maui's bot lane. 4k now for Corki, 1k for Nautilus. It's looking scary for that Jinx teamfight win condition. It looks now, I believe that the Valkyrie in from Corki and the point and click lockdown from Nautilus with that ultimate might just be enough to ensure Jinx can't hyper carry the way you'd want them to. They're 2 levels down now as well, right? Like, you're getting further and further away from that win condition. Corki's both of their summoners and just gets to go straight in.
He doesn't care about the seismic shove. Goes legendary, but not without having the kill getting turned as a result. Fairmancy picking up his 3rd kill of the game for both him and Monkeys After Hours.
It looked like it was the Summonary that did it too, which I find amusing. What can I say? Should have gone for the Guardian Angel.
True. Right. Well, it is not going to be that GA, but it is the Infinity Edge that we had hypothesized. Now in the inventory for Grim Defier, so if you thought he was doing a bit of damage beforehand, Fallen Warrior walking forward, sees middies, Dredge Line going just shy of the target, Fallen Warrior not quite landing the hook onto Wheeze, middies with Hex Flash over the wall, looking perhaps for a way in onto Fallen Warrior, will think better of it.
Yeah, game state. Rift is up, so I expect to see Maui's going to move up and take that soon. They are looking for this mid lane turret first, though, it looks likely, which is defended by Afterhours.
Hook lands its way onto Grim Defier. That's a target that you want, takes this Corki very low, but there's just not nearly enough damage to kill him. But the knock up under the tower gets a few shots down onto Frosty the King, but not enough to find the kill. The healing from the Sundered Sky keeps him alive. But now the Weaver's Wall coming in on a few blinking health bars. Flash from Ferromancy finds the first kill, looking for more onto Wheeze. Now Frosty the King also low. Middy's doing his best to apply some CC to get Wheeze and his jungler out of there, which he will do successfully.
All right, I've got a stat for you here, because this is a bit ridiculous. It's currently 413.
Before we get to that, it's yet another Dredge Line onto Slappy. Wheeze doesn't nearly do as much damage as Grim Defier, so, I mean, it won't matter. Another Severing Bolt from downtown
Just go back
from
to
Wheeze gets his third kill of the game.
But it's 414. Ferromancy has 4 kills. There are no assists on the side of Afterhours. It is only Ferromancy with takedowns in this game. Is that not crazy to think about, actually?
Oh my gosh, it is. Especially in a few of those exchanges in the mid lane, you gotta feel that somebody would have gotten either a shield from Thresh or like something would have gotten some damage.
What was sad from the last one was the death sentence lane on Corki, and then the Super Mega Death Rocket did too, where they're relatively low, but Jinx didn't have their first item at that point. They're level 9, so it just didn't have the damage to finish off.
Get to that, Audacious Charge comes forward. They try to find the move onto Hunter, but they don't realize that the rest of Maui is here to help out their top laner. Grim Defier picks up a double kill, getting his 11th of the game.
Yeah, wow. So I expect to see them take this Rift, rotate back mid, push out mid, go Dragon, take Dragon, repeat. This is kind of it's been what they've been doing for this entire series, and it's been working. So I don't see any reason why they should change. We've just roaming around the map as a unit. Again, with the exception of solo laners, which get to do their thing on the sides, and just give Afterhours no opportunity to find that pick, refuse to overextend, and just...
Ferromancy hit by the Swirling Despair. Wheeze knows he's dead, so he tries to find the solo kill, and he does! Not without giving the shut down over to Slappy.
And the first takedowns for non-Ferromancy members of Afterhours. Yeah, a bit of gold in that Jinx is certainly nice, but still a 5k goldie for the Corki.
Yeah, Corki sitting on 2.5 items, but Slappy has picked up his Unitol Wild Arrows. Is on his way. Obviously, the 3-item power spike for the Jinx is the big one that you typically wait on, but it's going to be a while before Slappy can get there. As you mentioned, Drakes are on the menu for Monkeys and Maui. Slappy hit. Taken very low by one phosphorus bomb. We're going to have to flash over the wall despite the flame chompers preventing the flag drag follow-up from Frosty the King, but there's a bit of hesitation on the Drake. It could be a potential steal coming through from the Poppy. Shinobi tried his best to get in there, get the Drake low enough. Not quite going to find the smite, though. And Grim Defier is on yet another killing spree. 12, 2, and 3. Young Callie teleported in. Will eventually get back over the wall with the help of Fallen Warrior. Monkeys Maui really running away here in game 2.
No, I do respect the play from Afterhours with looking for that steal. It was well responded to by Maui, a sign of some great communication. Oh, nice block of the charge with the Weaver as well there. But yeah, it's some nice communication there, where because it's something that you often see happens in your solo queue game, right? Your team is split on finish the objective versus just kill the person coming in. So they all, as one, turned on Shinobi there. Afterhours was able to move in and get the dragon low enough to take the 50-50 before Shinobi passed away under the barrage of blows, but at the end of the day, it's a coin flip. No matter how good of a jungler you are, when those situations come up, it's anyone's game, right? So, anyways, a bit of a desperate move from After Hours, but it's desperate time, and sometimes a 50-50 is as good as it gets.
Yeah, and especially when the Drake puts Monkey's Maui on Soul Point, it's one that's such a point of pressure that cannot be ignored. If they were able to steal that away, it would have prevented that, and we've been feeling quite okay. But Fairmancy will find Wee. Seismic shove finds the mark onto the Hui, who will do his best to try to escape, but yet another Q lands its way onto Wee's. He hits everything. Fairmancy does not miss. 5 kills now on this game with that 100% kill participation for the After Hours mid laner.
Yeah, really impressive actually. But being up on KD in a 6-18 game is really impressive. And at the end of the day, if After Hours have a chance of winning this, it's up to Fermenty, which is
for much
tough.
longer. Flag drag comes through, gets the flash response. Yeah, the dredge line probably didn't even need to land, but it did help secure the kill for the side of Monkey's Maui. Will get themselves the kill that would, frankly, probably give them the most gold at this point in the game. Yeah, but actually, Young Cali.
Yeah, it's tough. I will say I do find the Archangel staff interesting purchase, specifically just because when your team is so far behind, I wonder how much value you can get out of the shield, because you expect you're going to have to just be maximizing your damage output. But then again, I was wrong about Ferromancy and going Bears or Summoner spells. So what do I know about shields clearly?
I think Fairmancy probably knows a lot about shields being a role swap support.
A role swap support, yeah, barriers.
Yeah, barrier as well. Either way, we go to the top lane. Young Cali get the target of Hunter. Going to be starting to burst him down, but it's a good shove away from Shinobi, but the rest of Monkey's Maui has arrived. Grim to fire, especially important. Shinobi going to flash away immediately, not going to take a chance, but the dredge line lands. Shinobi not quite going to be finished off, and now the death sentence finds its way onto Grim to fire. May have gone a bit too far forward. Shutdown for the side of Slappy. He gets excited. Another death sentence going away. Fallen Warrior. Minnie's flashing away, but that gets Fallen Warrior. Even goes to the rest of Monkey's Maui. Dredge line for Minnie's not going to matter. Fallen Warrior does not miss. Another kill goes away of After Hours. Young Cali's gotten low. Won't quite get killed, and even though Fallen Warrior goes down in the process, Cali going to be snagged by Hunter and a snipe at the end. Now Slappy in trouble. Shinobi's going to do his absolute best to keep him alive, but Frosty and Wheeze have so much health. Shinobi going to retreat, does have the safety of his tower nearby. Won't quite get anything else, but all the while in the bottom lane, Ferromancy's left alone to push down the spot lane tier 2.
Yeah, that's great for After Hours. I mean, when you're that far behind, you're able to get a fight that looks even. It's amazing. Not to mention, the goal went where you wanted it to. The kills went to Slappy. The shutdowns went to Slappy. And that's a second item for the ADC, what with the role quest completion and giving that additional gold. So all of a sudden, if you're After Hours, you're feeling a lot more hopeful. It's worth mentioning that in the last game, they had nothing that approached this. So we haven't seen how Maui can hold on to a lead when all of a sudden these cracks start to show. So it's great to see, honestly.
Fallen Warrior, though, he's gone a bit too far forward, getting a bit overconfident with his performance in that last fight. Death Sentence gets its way onto Midi, but he's already way too low, won't be able to get that kill. Now Fairmancy might be on the wrong side of this fight as the rest of Maui moves over to this Drake, which is spawning up. It is that soul point. Will use the Weaver's Wall to escape, is able to get out of there, but there is no support for the side of After Hours with such a key objective spawning up. Fairmancy also missing about 1/4 of his health bar. Young Cali may be the target of Maui. He's far pushed up in this lane. It's going to be the sway needed away. Audacious charge stuns up Midi's. Shinobi gets the first kill. Frosty the King goes in with the Cataclysm, targeting Slappy, and Grim the Fire gets the kill onto the Jinx, and it is a clean sweep fight for Monkeys, only losing Midis and King in the process. And they will get the reward of the Cloud Soul.
just as it looks like hope is starting to shine through the clouds after
Oh,
hours,
that's
it's about to-
intense. Gets onto Grim.
There's
I mean,
nothing you can
okay,
do
no,
there.
that's how it's not too close. Yeah.
I will say what was really tough about that last fight actually for After Hours was the Cataclysm did land on Jinx and someone else, I believe Ferromancy. Yeah, it was Ferromancy. So both of the carries were caught in the Cataclysm, and even though they weren't close enough that the rest of Maui was able to fully lock them down and just delete them, you have a Poppy who can in theory counter the Jarvan ult to a certain extent, right? But the ult was already used, and they had a Spiraling Despair on them. So they couldn't actually go in to support their team instead of the Jarvan, or they'd kill them to the whale. So, yeah, a bit of an unfortunate situation. I made that fight really difficult to play. Yeah, we'll see 4 items now for the Corki and a Vamp Scepter. Incredibly strong.
Yeah.
Jinx actually retooled there because they had a Scout Slingshot recently in their inventory, and now they have 3 Lump Swords. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that. I guess they determined they just need as much AD as possible in the next fight, which presumably will be around this Baron. Difficult to contest with the Cloud Soul. There are a few people who come to mind as well that are incredibly difficult to play against with it on the side of Maui. Swain, who is permanently on top of you, but also Corki, who gets to spam it, right? It just makes the ADC of Maui that much harder to pin down, which looks like they are death pushing to try and kill whoever on After Hours we rotate to defend this objective. But After Hours is ignoring the Baron, which is the correct play to do when your opponent is death pushing.
Yeah, there you know they don't have a lot of options in. Instead, they're looking to find a way onto Weeds. Good fear from Weeds to stop the advance of Young Cali. Going to flash away from Shinobi, going to get knocked up by that ultimate. Shinobi can't quite get behind Weeds to be able to charge him back into Young Cali. And since 2 members of Monkey's After Hours show bot, the Maui team moves straight onto Baron without the support of their 2 members. Move straight on that. Secure it. Slappy now in trouble. Hit by Spiraling Despair. Taking very low. Is burning down. Won't quite get killed. Fallen Warrior now. The target. Wheeze gets the kill eventually onto Slappy. I guess from burns alone. And Fallen Warrior did his best to stop the other members collapsing onto Slappy. You know, pays his life for the help of his ADC, but just won't be able to even do that in the process, unfortunately.
Yeah, 2 members down for After Hours and Baron buff from Maui. You can't help but expect them to continue this mid lane push and push for more, push for the inhib. I would assume that's all that they do. They've so far in the series played a very conservative style that's been very difficult to find areas to punish. So I expect them to not greed for the end. Yeah, back away and just play on the next push, which definitely a lot to learn from this series, in that this is what you should do. So many of these games, especially in like these levels of play and lower as well, especially, you'll notice that teams have the lead and then they'll throw them, trying to rush the end of the game. And you also
Young Cali pops the dominance, and Grim the Fire going to get stunned by going over the minefield of the Talia. Will flash away, won't quite get the kill onto the Corki. Grim the Fire picks up another one, but the shutdown goes away of Young Cali, who's still alive, and another kill drops onto Midi. So 3 the way of Monkeys After Hour. Talking about being unable to close out this game. Monkeys After Hour find the angle to get a kill. The automation charge finds way onto Weez, but Slappy can't quite walk up to it. Nevermore lands away onto Slappy, who's stunned, pulled back. Going to pop the barrier to ensure that they don't get bursted down any further. But Monkeys After Hour trade up and kills 3-1.
Yeah, great find for After Hours. Now, you don't have a Smolder, you don't have a Vigar, but you do have a Jinx, which means that the more of these miracle fights you're able to find, the more time you're able to buy, the more gold you're able to acquire, the more likely it is you can create a game state where you just have a Jinx that you're able to peel away from all of the threats on Maui and delay the game long enough that one decisive fight with these increased death timers is enough to flip the game on its head. That being said, it is worth noting that Elder Dragon is spawning in 2 minutes, and both of Slappy's sums are down. So that's going to be a point of contention when After Hours is navigating into into the river, or the neutral space of the map, is you have to move your carry in, and you have to do so safely. So Vision in the is going to be incredibly crucial, placed in about 10, 20 seconds or so that'll last long enough. But yeah, as a result, we're going to see Maui move in here to try and get all that control to make it as difficult as possible for Slappy to play the game. But they're going to contest push as well here.
Yeah,
no Baron buff anymore, of course.
Also, Edgeline not quite going to land onto Fallen Warrior, but on top of that, with the mid inhibitor down on the side of Monkeys After Hours, it allows Maui to really choke out this bottom quarter quadrant on the side of After Hours. Look at the amount of vision that they have. Any attempt that After Hours move to try to contest this Elder Drake that's spawning in 45 seconds will be seen by Monkeys Maui. Makes that, contesting all that much harder, especially now their only ward in there going to be eventually cleared out. Now, obviously, the Fey Lights are a thing. They can drop their way onto it. Fallen Warrior also, the Lantern does provide vision. Shinobi charging forward blindly. It's not exactly the target that Maui wants to really collapse on, so they don't. Elder Drake spawning now in 15 seconds. Grim Defier stepping forward to Young Cali, knowing he has this team behind him to help out. Won't get too much damage down onto the Crocodile. Not going to get too much else, just clearing out these waves in mid. But After Hours have managed to get some vision for themselves into that important bottom quadrant of the map. Drake now on the map, Elder up and available. Very sensitive times. Shinobi's gone a decent amount forward. Dredgeline finds its way up. The Steadfast Presence prevents the follow up, but it won't matter as Grim Defier has the damage on the Corky full build. No smite available to the sides of Monkeys After Hour, and so any hope they have at contesting the Elder Drake is gone with him. But it doesn't look like they're moving on to it immediately. It's a very slow take from the side of Maui. They eventually move over to it, and now there's not much left for After Hours to do to be able to stop this. Super Mega Death Rocket really early from Slappy. Not even going to be targeting the Elder Soul anyway, the Elder Drake, mind myself.
Maui correctly positioned to defend against the Jinx steal, and just as you said, Jinx did hit the 3-item power spike, add an Elixir of Wrath, but man, though Jinx 3-item power spike is strong, 5-item Corky might be stronger. And yeah, the good catch from Mac Middens.
Severing Bolt finds Ferromancy. It's really good intuition from the mid laner of Monkeys Maui, and Ferromancy has no chance to escape. The execute range is there. Wheeze picks up his 9th kill of the game.
I would just like to add, you
know what I need to do? I've had an idea. Right.
Okay, yeah.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
You said great intuition from
I don't know. I don't know.
Monkeys, which I found very funny because which one?
Oh. Okay, well, I mean, true, from Wheeze, which I had an idea with Wheeze, especially with that one. So there's a thing that's like kind of popped up recently before we get into that, but everyone's being spotted. I don't know if Shinobi's been caught out. He's staying around. There, he does have the angle, won't attempt a Miracle Steal, will just recall. So when we get back to that point is, I have this idea for an edit that I'm probably going to do. I'm going to pull a clip. Is that, you know the Buddy Holly Weezer rip? Oh my gosh, Grim Defier gets a kill onto Slappy. Off screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's just so much damage. We'll get a replay of it. I don't even know if it's entirely necessary. You got to imagine how it happened. We saw Mac and Miggy's moving there anyway, who flashes forward, finds yet another hook down onto Shinobi, who stands no chance with an Elder empowered Maui team. Nevermore not quite hitting the mark, but Hunter still buying some space for the rest of Maui to push in onto After Hours, but Grim Defier's gone a bit too far forward. Shutdown goes the way of Young Cali. Now it's only Fallen Warriors and Young Cali left alive to try to save this game, but they're still somehow managing it. Fallen Warrior finally goes down, is finally a Fallen Warrior, but Young Cali doing everything he possibly can to hold on. Not quite going to find the kill onto Hunter. And a few of these recalls are coming back around, but it brings time for Slappy to respawn to maybe find a miracle here in the dying moments of this Monkey's Civil War, but the teleports are coming back through for Monkey Monkeys Maui and their health bars are back. Full flash flag drag goes forward onto Slappy, and there's no damage left for After Hours, and there's no chance for the final miracle they need to send us to game 3 as Monkeys Maui finally close it out.
Yeah, enough aping around. This is the end of guerrilla warfare for today, as Maui is able to cleanly, well, I say cleanly, in any other scenario, this would be a clean close of the series, but compared to that first game, it did look messy, I'll be honest. But yeah, at the end of the day, was still a dominant performance from Maui. I will say I was solidly impressed with Ferromancy in this second game. I thought they were doing a great job of actually continuing to be able to find angles in a situation that was quite tough to find them in. So kudos there. You see that representing the gold graph as well. But yeah, overall, it just I was impressed by Maui. They played cleanly. They clearly moved as a team. They took objectives. They took side waves. They played under pressure. They based correctly. A lot of solid fundamentals there. That hard to beat, turns out.
Yeah, it's really well played by Monkeys Maui, but on the side of Monkeys Chopped, I mean, it was still the expectation of most of the members of Monkeys that Maui would be, the favored team at this point in time, just because of, how much more cohesive they are currently and a bit of the roster upheaval that Chopped has gone through recently. But to be fair, Coach Coop was talking about the ceiling that this Chopped After Hours team does have, and it is a long season, especially in Ember with double elimination, and especially in that game 2 towards the end of it, we started to see that ceiling that this Monkeys Chopped team can have, because compared to how game 1 went, it could be really easy to expect that it would have been a very quickly, gone Maui's 2-0, but they managed to keep it in there a while considering how that early game went.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely was trending in the right direction for After Hours, right? I mean, obviously it's a best of 3, so that's the way the cookie crumbles. But you can imagine in a best of 5. I mean, I don't know how high up to go, right? Best of 7, best of 9, maybe. But you can imagine with more games, they could keep on improving. They could keep on demonstrating increased solidity in their plays. And though, of course, obviously now a Fearless draft that always gets a bit thrown out the window. You mentioned that. Fearless, for instance, they have some role swaps going on, so you have to imagine that champ pools, like you mentioned, might not fully be there. But yeah, long series, and I'm excited to see what the future of both these teams have in store for us for the rest of this league.
Obviously, we will have to wait and see for that future, but for now, it concludes our series here tonight with a 2-0 Monkeys Maui victory in this civil war. They'll be taking the bragging rights home after this one, so congratulations to them. Well played for Chopped After Hours on their performance, especially towards the end of game 2. But that is it from us tonight here at Ember Esports. I've been Isaac. Alongside me has been Senkai, and behind the scenes, Raven's been producing here for us. You see all of those fancy graphics. Those are all thanks to him. And so from everyone at Ember Esports, we wish you a pleasant good night.
Blinding lights, lost in your eyes, feeling the pressure. You and I, spending the night, chasing for